We'll do a bow in a 3, a 2, a 1, a go. Oh, look at that. That timing.
Synchronization.
I'm sure my guests are getting better and better at this. It's almost like you watch these tea time episodes and you're learning.
Practice.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Tea Time with me, Meoni, and I'm joined by our special guest, our man from the north of the United Kingdom, good old Scottish friend of mine. How you doing, Reece?
I'm doing well, mate. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. So the reason I wanted to have you on is because you're going to have a very unique perspective. When was the last time you played prior to coming back to the game? That's my first question, so we can get that correct.
I think it said it was like 560 days or something.
Yeah,
Maybe 2 years.
Something like that. Yeah, so it's been a while, you could say, since you were last on, since you were last on the game.
Time certainly has passed, yes.
Yeah. Never removed you from the FC, though. So the reason I wanted to get you on is because you're going to have a perspective of doing all of this lovely Shadowbringers content in one big, just massive pile, you know? And I'm really interested to see your perspective as being both a returned player, seeing what you have noticed has changed since you last played, and the sort of things that you liked from a storyline. So let's just put it out there. This will probably have spoilers in it. If you're not interested in Shadowbringers spoilers, don't watch this Tea Time episode because we're not going to, jump around the bush. We're going to talk about whatever, basically, if it crops up. But apart from that, it's pretty much, yeah. So the first thing I want to know is, what did it feel like to come back from, because you were playing World of Warcraft, right, as your main MMORPG. What did it feel like to transition back from that to 14, and what was your first thing that you noticed? Was there anything major that you were like, oh yeah? Or
it feels like there's a lot more players, if you get me, compared to when I last played.
Really?
There's players everywhere in comparison to usually when I was in the older zones, it was dead. But I've been to a couple of zones for the main story quests. Can't remember. It was like the forest zone near the elf place.
Oh right, yeah.
But it was actually teaming with players, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think that is part and parcel of they've got this massive campaign of not only having a really good free trial that goes up to level 60 now and includes Heavensward, so you can play the entirety of the base game and the first expansion for free up to level 60. That's a good thing, but there's also a lot of there is a lot more players. I mean, we're over 20-something million registered.
Yeah, that's madness,
Now, a good portion of those might be bots and RMT or whatever, but there's a massive percentage of those that are players that are discovering this game for the first time or returning like yourself. So, yeah.
That's the same. And again, there's always bots in it. You can't control bots. That's just how games are nowadays. So
that's that's true, yeah.
Unfortunately.
It is.
People see a real value, like monetization from selling, like Gil and stuff, so it's always going to be there.
Honestly, to see a game not have bots would be a worse sign if you think about it from a reverse psychology point of view, because if a game hasn't got like hundreds of bots and RMT being an issue, then it's not really a successful game, is it?
Oh, definitely.
There's definitely a clientele that will purchase that stuff regardless of TOS and all that stuff, you know. There's always going to be that guy who will buy a run of this, and for as long as there is someone who will buy Gil or buy a run of something, that's, it. And the more people there are that are going to come to the game, the more that's going to be increased. It's good for, it's actually good for Square Enix. Ultimately, if there's a
demand for a service and something, people will always supply it. That's just how it is.
That's right. That's pretty much how it is. Whether you like it or dislike it, whether it violates terms of service or not, at the end of the day, it's based on demand.
I don't agree with it, obviously, but that's just how life is in games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's plenty of things I don't agree with, but they are there. And, that's a completely different subject for probably a different tea time, how they're dealing with RMT and bots. But it's there. It is what it is. Report stuff when you see it if you're a player. But apart from that, you're never going to get rid of it completely because it'll just grow back.
Definitely.
But from that other perspective, it is a positive thing to see that people are being more invested in their characters. So when you do invest real money into something, then you are going to get a much better appreciation of playing that character, or at least I'd like to think that some people do. You know, people who stand around perhaps with purchased runs of Ultimate, whatever, the weapons or whatever, the titles, maybe they will stay longer. So, you know, they're going to increase the amount of time that they subscribe to the game because they feel like they, you know,
They've progressed.
Have something to cherish that other people look up to, which is true. So, yeah. So anyway, apart from new players in the game, how have you found the game? Because since you last played, I believe there's been a lot of quality of life changes that you probably just didn't even notice.
No, I've not really noticed anything like that. But one of my main gripes for not playing it last time was I felt the combat, personally for me, was a bit slow. But I decided to level it up again, and I tried Gunbreaker, and it feels quite fast-paced. Like, I've got lots of buttons to press. There's no 2-second GCD, which was a big issue for me back in the day. It kind of put me off.
That's true. I think the last time you like properly played was like Heavensward sort of time, when you properly gave it a good go. And back then, it is fair to say that you did have this on some classes, at least, well, on some jobs. You had this huge gap between stuff, and you only had like 1 or 2 global cooldowns that you know, off globals that you could press to fill in those gaps. So I think Gunbreaker is a great example of as you say, fast-paced combat with lots of stuff to fill it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It does.
Carry on.
It does have loads of stuff you can do in between, like your basic combo to get your defensives up. Feels like I'm always pressing something to do something else, and it's progressing nicely. But I do plan on playing other jobs too to try them out. So
absolutely,
since we have plenty of time before Endwalker. So
that's right. How right? Okay, let's talk storyline. How did you feel overall Shadowbringers was in terms of writing and what game you played, what gameplay you got to do so far?
Probably some of the best I've played in Final Fantasy so far, I'd say. The story's really good. Lots of twists and turns. You feel a bit connected to some characters, and then they just go, oh, poof, bye-bye. Alright.
I think I still prefer Heavensward in some story elements, but this particular expansion, from my perspective, has definitely raised the bar for what we should come to expect in the future. And compared to Stormblood, I think we can both agree that this is night and day better.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Stormblood was good, in my opinion, but I think that it was filler, really. It felt fillery.
I feel that the dungeons in this one are a lot better as well. Like, for example, I'd done one recently, it was the Hero's Gauntlet, and I think that's one of my favourite dungeons to date. I actually really like it.
A ton of people said exactly the same thing. The thing about a Hero's Gauntlet is it feels like you're actually on this like epic adventure. Things are changing around you, you know, the sky's changing. And also the fact that it happens in several different biomes. So you're visiting like a bit of Doan Meg, you're visiting a bit of Lakeland and a bit of this and a bit of that. And it's just like interesting boss mechanics. And overall, yeah, it just felt really good, didn't it? It felt like you were actually there fighting these weird otherworldly warriors of light, you know?
Yeah, you were racing back to try and get back in time before. Obviously, you know, I don't want to display it too much for people in case you've not done it, but you should do it. You should just do it. It's so good.
Well, I gave a spoiler warning, so you can say whatever you want, but because we'll probably be talking about a certain Bahamut in a minute. But that was cool. So, in terms of the dungeons, the reason I think, that you're seeing an increase in quality throughout Shadowbringers is because what they decided to do, and I've already told you this before, I think, is that they ditched the idea of having hard mode dungeons. So, if you remember, back when we properly played together, when it was A Realm Reborn, we did Amdapor Keep and Wanderer's Palace, and that was the only stuff we got to do.
Getting flashbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. And then eventually later on they added hard modes of those, and we both sighed in disbelief that we got Wanderer's Palace Hard. Even though it was a different dungeon, it was just the fact that it's in the same place. We felt like we'd done that too many times, because A Realm Reborn, that grind for the gear was just insane, wasn't it?
Yeah. I remember we were like, "Oh, new content! Yes, here we go," and it's the same dungeon.
Yeah, basically. Even though I mean, it's fair to say, because people in the comment section will say, no, they're different dungeons. Yeah, they're kinda, but it's like a different path through. But what they decided to do with Shadowbringers is not do any more hard mode dungeons, and instead use that budget to increase the quality of the ones that we do get. So we get one major dungeon per major patch, and then also put the rest of that money into new concepts and trials. And I think it was probably the best decision they ever made. And at the time, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a good idea.
No, definitely. It's worked. I think it was a gamble, but it's paid off. Because people liked their hard modes, because it was obviously the best source of either like resources like your tombstones or gear, etc.
Yeah.
But now if change that focus and put it more into the raiding aspect or the trial aspect, if that's what you're after. I think it's worked really well. I've not done any of the extremes yet, but I do plan to.
The extremes are good fun. We'll have a bash on a few of those actually. We do them, as if you don't know, we have a separate Discord for the FC, and we have a list of scheduled events that we're going to do, including extremes. So if we can get you involved in those, now you're ready. Yeah, but yeah, I think that the quality of the content that we've got in terms of PvE definitely increased as a result of that. Now, some people have the adverse reaction of saying, well, what's the point in an expert roulette? Only having one dungeon, really, that's in it. You know, like the expert roulette is a lot smaller than it probably should be. And we always said, I remember a long time ago, it's like, well, when it was just Amdapor Keep and Wanderer's Palace, it was just those two dungeons in the expert roulette, if you remember. And we were like, such variety, wow. But now it's even worse. But I don't know if that really matters as much anymore, because we get stuff invested into other parts of the game we wouldn't normally see. Like, you've probably not done it, but ocean fishing might not be your cup of tea, might be a cup of tea. Basically,
I don't think I've done much of like crafting in general. So
yeah, and the gathering stuff.
Yeah,
but it's like a point-based system. It somehow manages to make fishing fun in this game. It's like RNG. There's procs of things. There's titles. There's there's a mount and a minion. There's a lot of stuff to do in that, and that's just all because they had that extra little bit left over that they ordinarily would have just had to put into the hard mode difficulties. Apparently, that's what they said anyway on one of their live letters. So that sort of content exists because of that. And then we have the revisions to Triple Triad, which now has a new type of tournament mode where there's basically a tournament against NPCs, and there's rewards for that. It's quite good, actually.
Is that the battle hall thing, or is it something else?
That's something else. It's like it's called open tournaments, they're called. And if it can't fill with players, it fills with NPCs, and it's really good. Like the NPCs are quite tricky as well on some of them. But if you get so many wins of that, you unlock there's a parasol you can unlock, which is a fashion accessory, which has the gold saucer sort of stuff all over it with chocobos and things, which is quite cute.
That's pretty cool.
There's just more stuff to collect, and they've really focused since you last played on adding more RP elements and costumes and glamour and ways of looking good. They added to the Ishgard Restoration, there are new dyes, you know, like you've got Gunmetal Black, for example, which is like makes everything look like leather black. You have Ruby Red, which is way more vibrant than Dalamud. You remember we always used to dye everything Dalamud because it looked good?
Yes.
Well, this is even brighter, you know?
Oh, so yeah, I'm seeing them here. I'm just at a quick Google. Yeah, you can see them.
Yeah. So they've added lots of new stuff, and the Ishgard Restoration itself, and bits and pieces, and the ranking for that, and stupidly hard to get titles. And then, you know, you've got the Resistance Weapon series now, which is kind of like Eureka, but most people would argue a little bit worse. mostly because it's going to be probably even more dead in the future since it relies on 2 dungeons. But there we go. But overall, have you found yourself... Because this was a thing I remember last time. You hit level 80, okay, or you hit level 50 or whatever. And then when we hit level 50, we had a choice of 2 dungeons and then a raid that we never got to really access because people didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? How is that different now? How does that feel to you? How has that changed over the years?
Well, I don't really know where a lot of the content is. That's one thing I think maybe they could make it a bit more better. Like, point out to you, if you go here, you can do a quest line to pick up this dungeon. I feel like I've hit 80 and I've had to ask you a couple of times, where did I go?
This is true. This is true.
Right.
Maybe they could have something like World of Warcraft then, because when you hit maximum level in World of Warcraft, a little menu comes up and tells you what you can do, right?
Yeah. There's like a dungeon journal, and it says max content. This is what you can do. You can go and do PvP, or you can do dungeons, or you can gear up for raids, things like that. Something like that would be quite nice.
I think there's something that's missing, because the help menus and tooltips in this game are one thing, but like the actual active help window, I remember turning that off a long time ago because it's just frankly annoying. It just doesn't tell you hardly anything. Some of the information isn't accurate, or if it is accurate, it's worded weirdly. And it's just like something else that you have to click off of your screen that just keeps popping back up. There doesn't seem to be any kind of like, Grats, your maximum level in the current content, here's what you can do. And then all they'd have to do is have little buttons as like, right, what would you like to start unlocking first? And you'd be like, all right, well, I want to do... unlock the raids. So you click that, and then it would activate a waymark. That's something that's missing in this game, is like active waymarks or like pointers or help pointers towards where you can go. And I know some people will say, oh, that's such a noob thing to say, Meoni. But overall, if you're trying to encourage new players to this game, right, you want them to have the best experience possible. And the best experience isn't to have to rely on asking other people, is it? It's for you to be able to discern that information yourself without going, oh, so if I went inside the Rising Stones, even though there's no quest in there and there's no quest objective listed on the map, there's actually a quest in there. Okay, I didn't know that, Yeah,
things like that would be helpful, because I've picked up this currency, right, and I have no idea what I can get from it, and it's not telling me you can go here.
Which currency?
Right, so this example, I got the Revelation. Okay. Times on a Revelation. I have no idea where to spend it. I'll find out, but I've got Google to find out instead of it saying this can be spent here. I'm guessing it's going to be like Yulmore.
Yeah, that's the correct guess. Yeah.
But that's an educated guess. If you didn't know where you were going, it'd be a bit confusing.
There's a lot of Googles. So what you're saying is maybe upon acquiring the actual currency for the first time, it should say, hey, this currency is used to purchase items from Yulmore, from this particular vendor. Like just a little window.
Something like that would be nice.
That would be really nice, actually. That would be really nice. Really nice. Yeah.
Not hand-holding, but pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, make it so you can turn it on and off like you can with help menus. But I think the help menus could be much better than they currently are, because it just feels really rough, man. Like, I remember I did a video where it was supposed to be a multiple part thing, but honestly there was no need to do the rest of the parts. I was like, what is a new player experience like? And I tried to pretend that I'd never played this game before, which is very difficult, and I tried to follow the tooltips and things that were on screen, and honestly, the first part when you log into the game and it tries to teach you, go talk to an aetheryte, it doesn't really tell you what an aetheryte is, or like where to find it. So we role played the idea that all the information on screen was what's going off, and I even had to message a player. I put in say chat, because that's the only thing I pretended to be able to use, and to ask a player. Thankfully, there was a lot of helpful people, and they helped my ult through that, and some guy offered to guide me through the rest of it. But more often than not, most people you ask about something say, Google is your best friend. Go Google this. Stop bothering me. I'm going to go Google this. Or if they do help, you're like, yeah, there are some guides on the internet if you need any other help. It's like, well...
Yeah, I heard that certain Meoni makes good guides or stuff like that.
So. Yeah, but in an ideal world, there'd be less views on those guides because the game itself would guide them. I know that's counterintuitive for me to say, but I still think that regardless, I think that there should be more help if wanted in the game for new players or returning players. Like you have this whole returning player flag above people's heads and sprout thingy. So, use that as a flag for whether those screens pop up or not, You get rid of your sprout thing after so many days at being maximum level and completed the MSQ up to the recent point, right? It's so many days after subscription that disappears. So in that time, it would be nice. It's like, oh, well, Reece has just looted a tombstone of Revelation. What can he do with this? Rather than you having to go, well, I guess it might be major cities. But if you didn't, I suppose if you didn't know that, and you had spent, for example, new player, buys a level skip to level 70, story skip included. Not something I would recommend. Definitely not, right? Because you're missing out on just years of fantastic stuff. But if you did, for example, no hate given, whatever, apart from it's a bad idea, I'm just going to say that. You boosted your character because you wanted to get there to play with your friends. It gets you to 70. Oh, look, I've only got 10 levels to go. You do those 10 levels. That's all you're basically doing in that game. You're not told.
You have no idea what you're doing.
You have no idea, right? If they had the tooltips pop up for that as well. Like you could make it flag those windows to pop up even more if you boosted. I think that would be a good way as well.
We're just going back to what I keep comparing it, but to what WoW's new thing is. So see if you boost a character in WoW, it actually runs you through a scenario to start off with.
Okay.
And it tells you this is what your class can do, this is what it does, this is it teaches you the basic spells, and it takes you to like your main city, and it guides you around.
Oh wow!
It's quite good. It's quite helpful for new players, I'd say.
I was going to say I haven't played WoW in so long, that I didn't know that was a thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah,
definitely would be beneficial for new players to have something that can guide them in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, since World of Warcraft has always learnt from other games, Final Fantasy could do well with perhaps their team playing a few MMOs themselves. Like when they did the whole A Realm Reborn thing, the way they learnt how to make an MMO properly was from 1.0, as they've said in the NoClip documentary that I've watched a million times over, is that they went and they were told, go play other games on the market that are popular, and one of them was WoW. And they learnt so much from that, and they took ideas from that and incorporated them into this game, and that's what honestly gave it the shot in the arm is other experiences that they were given, because they hadn't played, Western MMOs before. It's like, well, that's an oof right there,
Yeah, well, you're missing out on so many different concepts people have made up, and why not take it and maybe improve on it, or it's just nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, matchmaking, phase technology, that's something they've gone ham on over the last few years. They've really gone like, hey, look, we now know how to phase technology, so we can have this particular quest location having like a ruined look, and then this player has turned in 2 quests, and now it looks completely different, but they're in the same location as the other player, but they see different things on their screen. They've started to play with that a lot more, and they've refined it, and then they've made it into like actual server progression stuff with Ishgard, and now you had stuff that went through different periods of it being ruined to being completely restored again. It's fantastic to see. So it would be nice if they did a little bit more on the UI side and went and got the UI team, I think it would be. I think that's what it would be, whichever team, to try the new player experience in the other games and see how they could tailor that. We're not asking for like hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, just a few windows that point you in a direction, maybe something useful other than tooltips that not everyone will understand or use, or perhaps like the biggest thing to me when I play games like Arcade even, right? And that was a game that was literally brought out only in the West to make money, okay, off of microtransactions. They put very little care into that. It was fully translated audio, okay, and has a full step-by-step help thingy. It has a whole scenario when you start the game with full voice acting, and it teaches you every single button you have. You can press this button to attack. You can press this button to sheath your weapon at any time. That annoying American voiceover that we have.
Elf person, yeah.
Right, but it...
Double tap jump to glide.
Exactly. But that was so incredibly useful for me being a new player. Back when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is nice. You know what I mean? And you come to this game and it's like, here's a text box, and it's like a paragraph. And then you press the X button, there's another paragraph. Come on, guys, come on. Like, you could work a little bit better on this. Have a much more visual representation rather than just having block text. They could do so much more with the Novice Network, for example, and the actual Novice Hall, right? Hall of a Novice, which... does it actually tell you at the start of the game when you log in, hey, if you go and do the Novice Hall and do these little trials to teach you how to play your class, you'll get a free set of armor that's going to last you, like, probably half of the game? No, they don't tell you that. Unless you... No, right. But you get a set of armor for, like, the low levels. For example, if you were like, oh, I fancy playing Black Mage for the first time in my life, right? You go to the Thaumaturge thing in Uldar, you pick up the quest, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it doesn't tell you is if you took your Thaumaturge ass over to the Hall of a Novice, say for instance in Gridania, okay, and talk to the NPC there are little trials you can queue in for, which is like the magic trials, okay, and it teaches you, you're ranged. This is what you need to do. If you press this button, stuff, right, but it's like text. But if you do that to completion, every time you complete one of the stages, you get a piece of gear for that Black Mage. Right? For that caster. It does actually have really good visual representation, and Fashion Report even uses a few pieces sometimes.
Interesting.
But there's a few people that don't know that exists. Oh. Or if it was on a tooltip, it's one of those ones you clicked off. There was no, when you're picking up a new class, going, hey, if you need gear, look no further, my friend. Because it makes the game 10 times easier. It really does. Having like a decent set of gear. Yeah.
That'd be good.
That looks good as well. It's rare that you have something that looks good and plays and, does the business. But there are so many disjointed parts of that new player experience. So it's interesting to me to see how you react to things like that. But not knowing any of this stuff as a returning player just goes to show to me that they've not done a good enough job of maybe fleshing that out and shouting that loud enough for you.
It would have been helpful. It would have been, because I had to ask you to help. Where do I get gear?
Right, exactly. But
I got this to the appropriate level. I was wearing rags.
I mean, even if they were like level 20 items, it would still be better than like the rags you were wearing.
Loincloth.
You were wearing a loincloth. Oh, I remember I saw your gear. You were wearing like this tattered loincloth and like some ring bands from like level 15. I'm like, okay.
Walking the fashion, bro.
And I'm like, I think I'll buy you a set of gear. That might work.
Help.
Yeah. It does, yeah. That's the Exarchic set, which is a new crafted set. It's very nice, very good, very cheap as well. Mats are a lot cheaper these days, but yeah, the recipe's quite easy to do. But it's actually cheaper to buy it from a market board on our server than it is to craft it, which is a completely different topic.
That's madness.
It is because of how much people undercut. It's we're at that point at the moment where things have become worth less to actually just purchase because of the undercutting issue. But basically people don't know how the market board works. For example, I went to the market board the other day and I was looking at, I can't remember, one of the crafting mats, and they were selling it cheaper on a market board than you can vendor price it. So I was making 200 gold profit off of every one of a stack of 99 of a stack of 99 of each item. So I made an absolute fortune off of someone's idiocy, basically. Not look because they just don't look at a tooltip.
No.
Sale price 180, sells it for 80, huh?
That's a bit daft.
Or lower. But
that's one thing that I've always had, not an issue with the game, but what can you actually do with gil, right? What can you do with the money?
Right.
I know you can buy houses, etc., and you can buy gear and stuff like that, but once you have all that, and if you say you've got 50 million, what can you do with it?
50 million is the price of a large plot. But you're saying after, right?
Say you had that, right? Say you had that, you were making mad money, right? You're making loads of money.
Okay.
But what can you do with it? Like, there must be something you can... Oh, I can save up and I can buy a retainer or something like that. Say like a big retainer.
No, there's nothing like that. It's mostly just the gil sinks that exist are all glamour or collection based. Definitely. I mean, you should know as much as anyone that looking good and having a cool looking weapon is going to cost you a fortune.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They add, like the Zervan Weapons were the latest ones they had, which were fire and ice themed, okay, which we've been long awaiting. To craft those, you require one of the materials from Zervan on Extreme, which is very low drop rate, or you can desynthesize one of the weapons in there and have a low chance from that. And then the crafting recipe is usually pretty taxing on you,
right? Okay.
For the most part, or not in all situations, I must say. And then people will sell those, and they're a few mil each, easily. But apart from glamour and minions is the biggest way of throwing away gil, because there are collectors like myself who go nuts for them.
Yeah.
And like on day one of a minion coming out, for example, let's say Ishgard Restoration, you opened the Cooper Fortune scratch card and you got the minion from that, the Pterodon minion, okay? On the day of release, that went for 30 to 50 million gil.
Really?
So, yeah. That's literally where the gil sinks come from, and that's where you make the most gil from those sort of collectivities. Patch day, when a brand new item is being introduced into the game that's for glamour, doesn't matter how ugly you think it is, if it's a glamour piece, they will do everything to make sure the weaver or whatever is appropriate level, has the masterworks, because as soon as that comes out, they'll craft it, and then you're looking at 50 to 60 million on some of those pieces.
Oof.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah, on the first week. Treasure map dungeons, which I don't know if you've done any of.
We done the ones in Stormblood, and we're doing that like in the dungeon.
They're basically the same, just with different graphics and different mobs.
Right.
But some of the mats, say for instance, there was let's say that 5.5, not that it does, just saying before people get confused. Say for instance, it had new items added to treasure map dungeons, okay, that were used for crafting a new cape. Okay, imagine there was a chest piece that was glamour that was a cape. People would go nuts for that because people love capes and there's so few of them. If it was like a bikini with a cape, people would go ballistic for it, all right?
Yeah, definitely.
So to craft that, you need one, I don't know, let's say time-worn cotton, and that drops very rarely from a treasure map dungeon. If you get into that treasure map dungeon and you get that piece of cloth on the first day or that week, you're looking at over 90 million gil.
Oof, really?
Yeah, for the finished item. Oh, yeah.
That's mad.
We've had, it was like for 2 weeks, one of the glamour pieces, I forget which now, was over 80 million for 2 weeks. Just for a chest piece. Oh, the calfskin stuff. There you go. The calfskin stuff was 60 to 80 million, depending on when you looked.
Jeez, oh.
And all it is a leather jacket and a cap and like some leather trousers. That's all it is. But it's because of how difficult it was to obtain at that very moment. You know, it's supply demand, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's always the same.
But you
But
have
that's
to,
fine. In the past, it's like I've not really noticed anything that you had a reason to spend gil on that was just sitting there. But
I
if there's more
mean,
things, then definitely,
there is a
that's good.
ton more things to collect. In terms of mounts, I don't know if that interests you. If you're
Oh yeah, I like mounts. Yeah, I like
okay,
mounts.
so there are a couple of mounts that are going to be. If you go to that market board over there in a minute, okay, you'll find that the new construct mount, which you can obtain from a thing called Unreal. Okay, so there's this thing called Unreal difficulty, and they rotate whichever boss you're going to get on Unreal difficulty every so many patches. Okay. Currently, it's Unreal Titan. It was Unreal Shiva before that. Basically, it synchronizes you down to the level. Keeps you at the level, but synchronizes you. Like the boss, for example, Titan is the same level as you now. Okay, it brings
Right.
him up, but you're scaled to a certain item level, right? So it's synchronized, and all. It's basically like doing it synced back then, but you still have the abilities you have now, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah, just like souped up damage, but the same stuff.
right, so and the difficulty is anywhere between hard and extreme. It's like kind of like in that midpoint. Titan, for the most part, has been atrocious in pugs on Unreal difficulty because of the landslides. People are just not used to them, and it's latency dependent. And some people, my goodness, it's been infuriating. So as a result of that, my point that I will eventually get to a point. The reason I'm saying this is Titan is a lot more tricky to get a clear of in your week than Shiva. Okay, last season, let's call it. Okay, so every time you complete an Unreal, you tick off this little. Imagine it's actually next to Chloe Aliopo, right? It's like Wondrous Tales, but you have this this board, okay, and you get to scratch off these little panels basically, and you're looking for a fox head, okay, or other equivalent things. It's like a match game, okay, all right, and you get points depending on what you scratch off. If you scratch off a certain item, you get to do what's called a retelling, and you do the dungeon once more for that week. So it's a maximum of 2 per week of Unreals you would do. And then you have these points, and you save up these points, okay? And then eventually you can exchange those points at the vendor, at Chloe, and you can purchase a mount. And there's also usually a minion and some glamour piece. For example, there's the Catchy or Kate Sif, depending on how you want to pronounce that, necklace. There's the Construct, which is this giant red mount that you actually wear as a suit that kind of is a cross between Iron Man's suit and like a Gobwalker and a Big Daddy from Bioshock.
Bioshock.
Yeah,
All right, aye.
that's what
Sounds
that
quite
looks
cool.
like. But they're all market tradable. So you've got 2 options. Make lots of gil and sink it into stuff like that. We're talking 20 to 30 million at a time. On patch day, that's well over 80, okay, those mounts. But you can save up these points, okay? So what people do is instead of like, say for instance, they came to it late, they'll just buy the mount they want for themselves with, with gil now. And then when the next Unreal comes out, every time there's a new Unreal added to the, a different boss added, they update the items on the vendor. They keep the old ones, but they add new ones, right? And there's usually always a new mount. So what people do is they already have the not a cap of, but tons of points from the last time. They buy whatever the new mount is and go straight to the market board and list it, make an absolute fortune, wait 2 weeks, and then purchase back the mount for like a tenth of the price.
Yeah, and then makes tons of money.
That's right.
That's really good. That's clever. That's clever.
Yeah. But it's a great way for people like yourself to make money in the future because you know that there's going to be another Unreal, for example. Yeah. But there's lots of stuff to work towards as well, which isn't purchasable, that you have to work for. But there's also a lot of stuff you can buy with Gil. So Gil does have a huge sync rate. Anything from Bosnia in chests in Delibram Regine, which you've seen me stream tirelessly for my resistance weapons. You have a chance of getting the Gabriel Mark III mount, which is the flashy green neon version of that flight suit. That thing sells for a fortune. Okay, well, it's sold for a fortune. It's about 5-6 mil now, something like that. But that's still money. It's still quite a bit for someone who does nothing else.
If you're doing the content and you've already got it, then you're making money and you're getting progression for your relics, so it's good.
Yeah. But there are so many different things to collect that it kind of puts you in a position where you're going to have to spend gil on something if you want everything. You know what I mean? Like, you can grind on one part of it, but there's always so much else that you want to collect or to get. Sometimes it's better to just go, you know what, I'm just going to buy this, and then I don't have to grind for that, and I'll grind for this instead. So that's what a lot of people do, because they have started to increase and ramp up the amount of items they add in each of the patches from vendors, right? Like MGP now is sooner or later we're going to have a much more expensive mount in there. So people are farming the MGP. They're doing the Fashion Report Fridays, which we do a video series on if people didn't know already. MGP is useful. There's tons of stuff been added to that, mounts and minions and cards and things. So it's really all about glamour and collectability. That's the end game overall. And that's where your gil goes, if that gives you a better idea.
Definitely. Like I say, beforehand, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. And from my personal opinion, I'm different from everybody. I've never tried crafting. I've never tried any of the side stuff. I like PV, but I might give it a go, because if there's stuff to be had now, and definitely I will. Like, if I can make money and I can buy mounts that I like, then I will, because I quite like mounts.
Yeah,
but
the same goes for PvP though. By the way,
does that exist?
Does it exist? Okay, so on the Moogle event, which is currently live, that Moogle over there will give you some stuff if you get tomes, and one of the ways that people have been doing it is farming Hidden Gorge, which also gives you achievements for getting so many wins, basically, or participations, I think it is, and you get gorilla mounts, like robotic gorilla mounts for doing that, so people are doing that and killing a few birds with one stone. But PvP is active at the moment, but only because there is something that people want to go for.
Yeah.
But normally it's not very active, no.
No, I have been tempted to do the grind for the, what do you call it, the Moogle tombstones, because I want to try and get more MGP. Something I've always wanted, but I couldn't be bothered grinding for, is it the Fenrir mount or something?
Yeah.
I've always wanted that since it first came out of the game. So
well,
maybe I make that a goal.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but they added, since you last played, they added a challenge log for the Gold Saucer. You can check that now in your logs under challenge log, and you will see that for the Gold Saucer you get stuff for just participating and winning as well. But it's like so many Chocobo races, you get a ton of MGP. It's like a few thousand. Obviously you've got Fashion Report each week on a Friday, which you can do. You've got the mini games in there that you might not have done before, and like Leap of Faith, I don't know if you've ever done that before, which is a jumping puzzle. You have gate events, you have your Chocobo races, you have Triple Triad, which now has even more stuff. We have Mahjong, but we don't talk about Mahjong.
It's bad.
It's not my cup of tea. It's a Japanese rule set that I have no idea how to play.
Maybe
absolutely
we could do that.
No idea.
No, sit down for an evening, just drinking beer and try to figure it
out. A quick match is something like an hour and a half.
That's fine. You can get through a keg at that point.
It's like, I think I'll not. No, I tried to learn it, and I was just like, yeah, let's go do something else. This is not. Yeah. I'm sure there are people in the comment section now going, but it's easy, Meoni. You just have to do this and remember this, and it's like this. And it's someone told me it was like poker, but not. Then they told me it was like solitaire, but not. Then they told me it was like some other game I'd never heard of, but not. I was like, what? But but it's like a weird rule set. Like I tried to learn Mahjong, like their version of Mahjong on YouTube, because there's plenty of like little guides. But it turns out I learned the wrong version of it.
Oh god.
Which is really not good because it literally doesn't translate at all to this weird version that they're playing. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pass on this. My brain's messed up at this point.
It looks like a Da Vinci Code version of Dominoes.
Da Vinci Code version of Dominoes. I like that. That's what that should be the tagline for their advertisements. Yeah.
I just googled it. It's like, how to play Mahjong. Oh god, never mind. Click off.
Yeah,
Click off.
it's a thing. But you can buy the in real life merchandise of the tiles and the mat that they have in the game.
Oh really? That's cool.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. That's currently on pre-order, I think. But yeah. There's a lot of stuff in the game. As much as people will say that the cash shop has become aggressive and there's too much stuff on there, it's like, no, it's not really. Actually, it's all optional stuff. There's no pay-to-win items on there, and it's perfectly fine, regardless of what people say. And then they'll start commenting below, talking about the Fenrir amount being overpowered, and then I'll just close the comment section.
I don't think people get the fact that it's optional. You don't have to buy it, you know?
Yeah.
No one's saying, you must buy this to play. It's like, no. Do you want something that looks cool? Yes.
Well, it doesn't even always look cool either. Someone said that there are too many items in the cash shop that look good compared to the stuff in the game. No, not really. Not really. There's plenty of stuff in the game that look good.
I can almost guarantee majority of the stuff that's in the cash shop is probably stuff that didn't make the cut for the game. Like originally. So like you had a mount, maybe didn't make the cut, so they put it back into production, made it look better, and you can buy it.
As far as I know, that isn't the case. But what I do know is that it's other regions' versions, versions of the game, and then it eventually just gets brought over here. So, like, you get, I don't know, the Washoi emote was technically never supposed to be on our version. It was Korean or Chinese, I forget which version now, creation that they did externally. It was commissioned for that version. And then it basically makes its way over to us after that exclusivity timer runs out, and they put it on the Mog Station, basically. There's a few things that are missing, though. There's this beautiful behemoth mount that I want that's bright green and has red hair. It looks amazing. Completely bizarre, but I want that one day, hopefully.
Let's have a look. But yeah, like, I guess it's one of those things you can't win. It's going to be, oh, we want this, but we don't want to pay for it. It's like...
Well... The recent thing is, Reece, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the Lunar Whale, right? So you've played 4 recently, so you'll know about the Lunar Whale, right?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I do know.
Okay, whoopsie. Basically, there is a flying whale airship type thing, and they, as an Endwalker thing, they were like, for FanFest, because FanFest in the past have always had digital items that you would get either for purchasing a digital ticket or for going to the event, right? And each one had like a different minion, but they introduced mounts that you could get. This time, because it's completely digital and it's for free, on the Mog Station Cash Shop or the Final Fantasy XIV online store on that May date, which I forget, I think it's the 15th or something like that, you'll be able to purchase the Lunar Whale, which is basically 7-seater. Like it's 8 because of you. You summon it and then there's 7 seats. The thing is, though, that's going to be the first 8-player mount in the game, okay? But you know for a fact that the price of that thing, based on the price of the others, will be close to 50 to 60 quid, I would imagine, right?
Easy.
I know for a fact that people are going to just lose their shit when that comes out. Sorry to swear, but they will. They'll be like, I'm not paying £60 or £50 for this. Complete rip-off. It's like, but they don't realise it's optional. It doesn't serve any other purpose. But they advertised it quite well. They showed people going for hunt groups, like they were going for hunt marks and for treasure map dungeons, and they just used one mount. But there's also one scene that was more likely than anything else. There was 8 of these lunar whales in the sky, and I was like, yeah, that'll be what actually happens, because no one's gonna get in your mount. They're gonna get in their own.
Why? Well, like, a fleet, like you see the ducks doing like the flying V, but it's with whales.
I
I'm
can't
like,
wait for that day because I'm just going to fill the sky full of lunar whales. I'm just going to make like an event where we fill the sky with as many as possible until the game's render limitations break, which isn't actually that many. It's like 100 and something. And yeah, then we're going to just sit there and watch the rest of the event once we have whales on the screen. But I know that people will get angry about that. They will go into the comment section and say that somebody called me a shill the other day and someone like a sellout and like or supporting bad decisions and I'm the reason that the game is this and blah blah blah. It's like, no. This stuff is optional. Just be glad it isn't worse than this, okay? Because there are plenty of games that actually let you buy gear, right?
Prime example, Arcade.
Yeah,
We
Arcade.
spent too much money in that. I like to say too much.
We did. Well, there are
That was
games, for example, Rift. Did you know that when you return to that game, you can obviously purchase for boosts and stuff, but from the actual cash shop that you can access in game, you can buy the previous tier of gear from the last raid series, right? You can buy that straight off the bat and equip it.
What?
From a previous, right? And you know what? Terra is doing the same thing.
Oh God!
So if you come back to the game in Terra Online, you can just buy the previous stuff that was relevant.
What's the point in it? So you progress your character, you get to max level. All right, I'm going to go and do a dungeon. Don't need to, just buy a set of gear. So,
Yeah.
Well, that's half of the fun done, isn't it? Because you're not actually getting to progress your character, any.
The other thing you can do in Terra Online, whilst we're on that topic, is you can pay for more loot drops because you're locked out. So, for instance, you know this whole like the 5 times a day thing on content. WoW used to have it. Like you run that like heroic dungeon or whatever. Oh God, I'm speaking like I'm old now. You run it 5 times and that's you for that day, right? Back in the war, right? Well, they have the same thing in Terra, but if you're stood in front of a boss and it's dead, okay. And you didn't get the loot you wanted, you can literally, there's a button on screen and you can pay money with your credit card or whatever, and you can buy another loot drop.
What is this, mobile games now we're playing?
Right? It's like, oh no, I didn't get what I wanted again. And you press it again, you can buy another loot drop.
What? From one kill? You can just keep doing it?
Yes.
That's silly.
So if you wanted to, you could just throw money at a boss, kill it once, and get exactly what you want.
Yeah, imagine you had like plenty of money, you didn't really care. I want this helmet, it looks nice. Just spam it.
Yeah.
That's bad. That defeats the purpose.
Yeah. So as much as I'd like to say and agree with these people, oh, there's too much stuff on the Mog Station. No, my friends. I know that this is like comparing chalk to cheese, but it really is bad. Like the other side is not greener. Right, we have got it quite well at the moment, and people will say, "Oh, but Meoni, you pay for a subscription for a game, and you pay then for optional items as well, which are up to 50 quid. What kind of game is this?" Well, I'm afraid that's the current way that things are, because the alternative is much more painful. It really is. You know, yes, that some of those things probably should be earnable in the game. I won't not argue with you. But there is a reason for them to exist.
I don't think it's that bad having like things in the cash shop, because so when there's lulls in content, there's not many people playing. That kind of thing can keep a game surviving, as long as it's not like you can buy a power boost. If you can buy a costume of a character you like, what's wrong with that? You know. I'm looking at the cash shop now. There's just quite a lot of stuff on it. I'll be honest, but like a pot of dye. Who cares? I mean, what does it do? What? It's not going to harm the game in any way. Oh look, I can pay. What is it? How much is it for a pot of dye? £4. If you really wanted that badly, 58p. There you go. Like,
yeah, for one pot. Yeah.
Who's going to miss 58p in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, it's more of just that is more convenience than anything else. I think with the dye purchase because. Yeah. Getting a jet black dye in the game is based on, I mean, there's only a couple of ways I know, which is one of them with a retainer and the other is a loot box. Like a box from, like a lock box that you open from a dungeons and stuff. That's pretty bloody rare. That's why a jet black dye on a market board is expensive. It's like, well, I'll go and spend some real life money then. Thanks. I'd rather do that. The option's still there if I want to go get jet black dye or pure white, which I use on most of my costumes. But is it really going to bother me spending a couple of quid occasionally on the cash shop? Not really, no.
No, because you're playing a game that you enjoy and you're invested into it.
Yeah, and it's optional, right? Not everybody is forced to dye their gear that way. Not everyone is forced to go and buy the latest schoolgirl outfit, for example. It's there if people want it, and I want it. Oh dear, because glamour is the end game. But the best of it is I see it as like there is enough stuff already in the game and keeps being added to the game that makes me happy every single patch that is glamour, that looks amazing, as well as the stuff on the cash shop. So me buying the stuff on the cash shop and combining it with the stuff in the game makes me very happy. There's just a lot of options. There could be 10,000 times more and I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't be upset if they added a ton more stuff to both the game and the cash shop. But it is what it is.
You've also got to look at it in a business sense. If you've got people working for you, right, and they're making things like armor, yeah, you're paying a sub, but they're not going to survive off that for a long time. You need to put things in again for people to buy it, to keep it updated and fresh, and people want to do it. I don't see what's a big deal personally, but I guess I'm of the mind that it's fine to spend money in a game.
I think personally, overall, though, from what I've read, is me and you probably make up the minority. There's a lot of people, for some reason, that are very, I understand, that are very agitated towards stuff being added to the shops and stuff. The argument is you pay monthly for a sub, and then every couple of years you have to buy an expansion, and then you're also paying stuff on the Mog Station. So, well, the expansions are optional, let's be honest. You can play for 3 up to level 60, but let's be honest, like you're going to buy the expansion. Buying the expansion pays them to keep making content, barely, right, to keep it up. The company has to make a profit from it, so not every single penny that you put into it is getting straight to the 14 development team. It gets taken into Square Enix, okay, because that's how it works. That's how everything works. There are multiple departments. And then you have little optional items which do the same and stuff like that. So as long as it stays optional, I don't see a problem with it.
No, as long as it's not pay to win, you can't progress your character in any way that can hamper the end game for people, then by all means go ahead.
If you want to see a game, unfortunately, an MMORPG that has suffered from the move to pay to free to play, okay, which this game will never be, right? Thankfully, right? Is Star Wars, that MMO. The Star Wars MMO, unfortunately, when it went free to play, it's got a great storyline. It has your subscription monthly if you want to avoid any of the pitfalls of a free to play player. It has your expansion purchases. But more often than not, if you're playing the game, you'll come across moments where your bags are full, and instead of where ordinarily in the game it would do a quest to open up a bag slot or whatever, you will be prompted to pay money. If you want to, there's experience caps as well, if I remember correctly as well, stuff like that. That you can exceed if you pay money and things like that. It could be a lot worse in 14, and I think people might want to realize that. And I mean, it's probably not the best standpoint either from the extreme other side of things to say, oh, well, this is acceptable, and, as long as it's not this, and, if they do a different direction. But as it stands right now, in its current state, I don't see a problem. If they were to start manipulating the audience, the paying customer, by forcing them to have an option that's not really an option, like increased, like another 50 tabs of bag space, for an extra,
Oh,
you
don't give them
know,
ideas.
right?
Don't.
then that would be crossing the line towards predatory, because this game has some serious item management required on it. Sometimes it feels like I'm playing Resident Evil when I'm having to, find out where I'm going to put bits. But that's my own problem. I have 7 retainers full of garbage for Fashion Report. And then my inventory's full of just anything, basically, at this point. I have dyes that I need and other currencies in my saddlebag. I'm at max capacity on everything, but that's a me problem. That's not an everyone problem. A lot of people don't do that. The one thing we all want to see, though, is the glamour dresser increase in size, because that feature's great, but it's too small. It's too small. But yeah, what do you feel then about? I mean, we kind of went on many different tangents. But what do you feel then about Endwalker? Are you excited for it? Are you excited to see where everything goes? Because you're caught up now, aren't you, to the story?
Actually, just yeah.
Yeah, so you've seen Lunar Bahamut.
He was really cool. I quite liked him.
Yeah, and
I
Fan
like to see
Daniel.
that. A weird name, I'll give it that. But yes, he's a bit eccentric. In the cutscenes, he's
A bit.
yeah, he's very hyper.
Yeah, he just wants to see the world burn a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice to just go back to a simpler story. Why are you doing this for? Because I can. Just because I can.
Xenos just wants to have one battle with you. That's his whole deal, which is
Apart from that, I'm quite looking forward to it. I think that it ended off on quite a good cliffhanger. I'm interested to see where it'll go, and I'm looking forward to going to the moon. The moon's going to be fun.
That's going to be amazing, isn't it?
Well, that's the reason I'm playing FF4, so then see why I'm going to the moon.
Oh dear. I'm still calling it now. Zeramus will be the final boss of 14's moon escapades. I can see it now, but we'll see.
Maybe the moon itself.
The moon itself? Oh, are you inferring Lord Zodiac by any chance?
Oh, possibly.
Oh, possibly.
Could be, It
Well,
could be getting cracked open like an egg.
He's up there. Let's put it that way. He's up there in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it like the heart of Zodiac or something? Like we read about that.
Yeah.
There was a heart. Who was the heart?
Wasn't it Vinar?
Elidibus, that's what it was.
Yeah. We've still got to meet Vinar, if Vinar's a thing. I remember that. I don't know. There's too much speculation on it, all of those points at the moment, and it's just like palpable. I've been reading so much stuff and I've got my own opinions, but like everything is just blurring into what I've actually read on forums and stuff and what actually happened in the game. So I get mistaken all the time now. I've done a bad thing. I've basically read everything that everyone else has thought of, and now I think it's canon.
Oh, that's true. That is right. It's right. No, it isn't.
Yeah. So I have to be careful. I'm scratching my head thinking, yeah, that character, right? Yeah, okay, cool. I just want to be surprised. And this game, Shadowbringers has been a surprise. It was a roller coaster of and oh.
Yeah. Favorite part so far has to be the Warrior Light.
Yeah?
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
That was a good storyline.
I really enjoyed that.
Mm.
The fight was good. I liked the music too.
I think
music was good.
My favorite battle was Hades, though.
I'd done that at the start of the expansion, like nearest, so I don't really remember that well, but I might just do it just to.
The music is just godlike, and on extreme, it's good fun. We'll get to do that with you as well if you want
to. Definitely, yeah. I do.
Multiple phases on that fight. It's a lot of fun. Quite a long one. Yeah.
That's one thing that I do miss about PvE, sorry. The fights last ages. So it's...
They do.
It really does feel like a battle.
I remember you were saying when you were playing WoW, you were mid-pull on Mythic, were you, of a boss? Tell me about
that. I'm not... The reason I did come back was I'm a bit... Not bored, how to describe it. Burnt out. I say burnt out. We got to, like, Stone Legion Generals, which was, like, the second last boss,
Okay.
and it's about 11 minutes long, but one tiny, tiny, tiny mistake, or you get bad RNG in it, and it's back to square one. You're wiping, you're going again. I think I got like 200 to 350 pulls on it, and my
Jeez.
head's frazzled. Everyone says in the forums, delete the boss. Just delete it. I think there's only a couple hundred guilds killed it.
Is
It's
it
horrible.
really that bad? Wow. Well,
It's
that good,
killed.
supposedly.
It's killed top end guilds.
Wow, really?
Uh,
Like cause them to rage out.
No, just like stop raiding altogether.
Wow.
Just yeah.
That's
And I think it's
surprising.
done it to me. I'll be honest.
Mm. But now you're here for the foreseeable.
Yes. For life.
Yes, you managed to come unscathed out of it.
Yes,
Dear.
definitely.
Definitely.
I miss playing. It was good.
We've got a while to wait until Endwalker, but there will be
Plenty to do.
dead moments thanks to delays and things like that with current world situation. But I think overall, it is a good time to start the game again and to jump back into it. I think there's plenty to do. He says when all I do now is farm resistance weapons, but you know I have my own little goals and other people have theirs. But there is enough to do, contrary to some people's belief. You know, someone will say, "Oh, I've done everything. I can't be bothered." But you look at their lodestone for 5 minutes and you realise that they're missing this and then they haven't done this before and
Yeah, well,
they've never tried Blue Mage or whatever.
there's always enough content. It's just dependent on what you can be bothered to do.
That's
The way
right.
it is.
That's right. And there are other games. That's the
Oh, yeah.
biggest thing, right? If you don't want to do what I'm doing and grind your ass off in Delibram Regine for 17 weapons, then you can play other games. There's some wonderful games out there. Like we're looking into playing Baldur's Gate 3, aren't we?
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
That's going to be great.
I've purposely not played a bit of it. I've played like maybe the first like an hour just to see what it's like. But I want to save myself for when we play it.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's most likely weekends. That's the only sort of time I get these days.
Yeah, that's what it's something for me.
Yeah, I usually get a couple of hours, and I've played. Some people like you know, but some people groan when I say that I've been playing some PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. But just something just to let off some steam is always good, even if the game itself is trash. You know, I can't really understand that game anymore now they've added bots to it and stuff.
Oh no,
But
let's not go there.
it's sometimes fun to just, you know, in the context of a game, just to blow off some steam, pick up a gun, shoot things, and go, well, that was fun for 5 minutes. Now go back to a real game. But
Duck people in cars. That was fun.
oh yeah. But you know, there's plenty to keep people going for sure. And some of
You've
these,
got to find it.
some of the stuff is very grindy. But it's optional, right? Somebody, just whilst we're on this point, somebody said to me in the comment section the other day, "Oh, Meoni, you talk like you're such an advocate of taking breaks and telling people not to burn out, but at the same time you're doing 17 relics and all this stuff. It's like, it's not good. It's a not good thing to show." And I'm thinking to myself, well, A, I can do what I want because it's my choice, right?
Yeah.
So screw you, fella, right? Screw you, guy. And two, it's optional. They serve no purpose. As you know, relics are only there for glamour at the end of your day, because by the time that the next stage of relic comes out, the content's already done. The savage is already done. Like, there is no more savage content. We're at a stage where it's 515 item level currently. The 520 with tomes, okay, is better than the relic currently, right? In 5.5, there's going to be another stage to the relic, okay? Doesn't matter what item level that is, okay? Even if it's 530, it won't matter by then, because we'll have the rest of the year left until Endwalker and nothing to do with it.
Yeah, well, if it was essential to kill the content, they've made it a lot easier to get. So
yeah. But my point is that this person was trying to make out like it was important for you to get a relic, that you needed to get one. It's like, no, it's the same as me going to the cash shop, basically, only I'm grinding for this. Yeah. You know, it's a piece of glowy weaponry that some aren't even that good looking.
Maybe that could be the argument. Do you want to spend money? Yes. Or do you not? Well, you got to go and grind for 500 hours. Have fun.
Or just choose not to. That's a viable option as well. And go and do a couple of days worth of dailies and get yourself a 520 weapon. Jobs are good, and you've already got better weapons than most of my classes. But this is a little goal that I've set because I know that I would like to make glamour sets for each of these weapons. And it's also an accomplishment thing. It's the same reason I did Blue Mage. There's not really anything there. Not really. You know, titles. There is a mount that I would like to get, the Morbol, but it requires you to do Synchronized Alexander.
That sounds fun.
With Blue Mage. It does sound fun. I've been trying to recruit people to be bothered, but it is a lot of effort because you have to. The leveling is the easy bit. The collecting of the spells is like the ball ache. Let's be perfectly honest. But
well, I've known nothing of Blue Mage, so I will give it a go. Definitely.
The other thing I've noticed in comment sections recently was if I do a guide to something, they always say you're taking the fun out of the game or you are destroying the spirit of the content. I've had that so many times on guides.
How does that make sense?
I'm thinking to myself, no, I'm trying to help people save like 30 minutes to an hour of their time.
What I don't get is, right, people writing that, they have clicked with their mouse or their finger on a phone, whatever, on the video to watch it. Why?
It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
It's as if their finger's being compelled. I must click.
Some people get very offensive about it. I mean, I've had like death threats and stuff in the because on the comment section, if it's too bad, it gets flagged and then held for review. Okay, so on YouTube's button setting, on comments is view held for review, and there's no end of bullshit on there. It's just never-ending insults and people just who honestly are just like it feels like they're throwing their dummy out the pram all the time just because I showed somebody how to do something and they don't like other people to know how to do something. That's what it feels like. It's like when we did the AlphaScape 4 Savage Guide, it did help a ton of people worldwide, and I'm not tooting my own horn here because they did it, they viewed it, not me. You know, I made that because we found out a way of making that fight ridiculously easy so we could get the Omega mount, okay, which is amazing looking. But we had no end of comments, both held for review and ones that are live, that was extremely salty. I was destroying the game and making it so that plebs could have it. One of the quotes were having like, yeah, I am. If that's what you're going to call it, then yeah, I will accept that I'm destroying the game, quote unquote. If destroying a game to you is someone teaching someone how to get a cool looking mount, you know, then there's something wrong with you. There really is.
To me, comments like that make no sense because you've got to look at it, right? You can make a guide on anything. You've still got to do it. You know? Just because you've watched a video on how to do something doesn't mean, oh, now I can go and do that and it's done. So now you've got the tools, but you need to now actually
it's
put
because
those tools into practice.
We utilised a method to skip 2 major mechanics by killing DPS off. It was something that we messed around with because we were like, hold on a minute. Mathematically, it's not going to use this spell because it doesn't use it because the damage dealers are dead and it doesn't target tanks and healers. So we figured out that if Irelive then jumped off the platform, then that mechanic was never cast, and then the healers can res the DPS before the end of that phase and then resume DPS to the boss and kill it.
That's clever.
So that's how we figured that out, is we were trial and error because we were trying to watch other guides from like Stormblood of how to do it properly, and we were struggling because there was a few members that couldn't get the idea. I could get it, but there was a few people who were like, this is rocket science. You know, it was tricky even though it was unsynced. And we were like, right, humor me, and I forced people to jump off, and guess what? It worked, and we destroyed it, and we farmed it for most people. It was still hard, but we skipped like the hardest part of it. And then we decided, right, okay, let's put that on YouTube, let people use that information. And there are tons of party finder groups now on Chaos and Light and other servers who use the Meoni strat. they call it, or
Is
Goodbye
that
World.
it's actually called that?
Yes.
That's class.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
People always take screenshots of their party finder and say, "Oh, look, someone's using your strat." I'm like, that makes me happy, not sad. That, and then there's people who send me messages saying that I'm destroying the game experience and you shouldn't do things like this. It's like, well, if it wasn't meant to be done, then why are we allowed to do it unsynced then?
No. Just don't do it.
We can go in there at level 80 by unsynchronizing it and get the mount. If we complete it, then that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to synchronize down to 70. If that's a choice, if you still want your legitimate first time experience of Alphascape 4 Savage, you can tick a box and then suddenly you're level 70 synced. Just saying.
The argument that you're killing the game, it's old content.
Yeah.
It's old content. Is it current content? No. Right? But end of the day, even if it was current content, why make something harder for yourself when you don't have to? Unless that's your intention and your goal, to do it as is set out by the developers and how they created it. But if you can do something easier and it's going to end up the exact same you get in the end result, then go for it.
It's like I've seen a ton of people moan about my Blue Mage guides. Okay, so the other day I did a video on. I mean, it's not the fastest run. People have done lots of faster ones. I looked today, but it was really good. I welcome it. I want to see more people do it. Where we did Aurum Vale were 2 Blue Mages, and we powered through Aurum Vale, synchronized with Blue Mages, and I showed people the benefit of spells like Ultra Vibration, which can instantly kill packs of mobs that are frozen. So you'd Ram's voice them and you'd one-shot them. And with that tool, you can then make the run. If you were any good, we weren't. You could probably get it close to 4 minutes. We did 5 minutes 25 or something, or 5:55 for the run with no effort whatsoever. Yeah, so it was a really quick way of getting 4 tomestones of this new currency for the Moogle event. I had people saying, I'm destroying the spirit of the game in that bloody comment section as well. I'm like,
Don't think they get what an experience is. Everyone's is different. Like, if your job is this game, right? That's what yours is, right? Why make things last longer? Like, not last longer, but like harder to obtain than when you can do it easier and you can get a video out. It would make no sense.
People aren't going to want to watch the longest possible way of getting tomes, are they? It was genuinely something I was like, oh, well, this could be helpful. It's because we've done that before as well, previously, when the other Moogle event was on, when Blue Mage was only 60, and the runs are comparable. Actually, we had a faster run at 60 than we did at 70 with Blue Mages. And the reason is because of how scaling works and item level with the gear. We figured out that it's actually because the gear that we're using with the item level sync, once you go past that level, it becomes a different form of synchronization. So you're synced lower than you would be normally. So you do less damage. It's weird, but some runs are like, somebody did a 3-minute something run of Aurum Vale I saw on YouTube today with 4 Blue Mages, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, that's fast, and that's really helpful. Good on that guy. But I'm sure the comment sections are going to be like, oh, ruining the game. It's like, no, they gave us Blue Mage. It's a tool. It's clever use of game mechanics and tools available to you that are in the game. It's not like we're cheating. We're not exploiting. We're using what's there in front of us.
Which at the end of the day, that's how games are. You take something and you mold it to how you want to play it. That's how it is.
Yeah. Obviously, those people have never played one of these games before, but you're always rewarded for thinking outside of the box in this sort of situation. Same as you are in real life. You don't always have to stay within the lines. You can go, oh, look, I can do it like this. And then you go, oh my God, suddenly I've got a 3-minute run of Aurum Vale. That's awesome. Yeah, it might burn you to death, the fact that you've got to do that hundreds of times. But it's the fastest run. It's a speed run. That's why speed runs exist. You know?
Yeah, if it's going to burn you out, don't do it. Go doing something else, then come back to it.
Yeah.
You know? You're the one getting burnt out at the end of the day. It's not the game's fault. You've chosen it.
That's right. But there we go. Another tangent treaded on. Stamped all over.
How we speak in general. We just go in tangents. And...
That's true. It's like normal, though. You should see when I do one of these with James, it goes exactly the same direction. Only weirder. A lot weirder.
Oh, it's James. What do you expect?
This is true. I'm sure you'll watch this at one point and go, "Oi."
I'll get a message tomorrow. What are you doing?
What are you doing? I'm not weird. What? Yes, you are, James.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. So, future plans. What are you planning to do then to kill the time until Endwalker? What's your big thing? What's your goals?
Going to get every tank to A. So then, when it comes to the content, when it's relevant, like the now content, I can play the best tank for the boys.
Sounds good. Sounds good. For static, yeah?
Yep, that's the one.
Nice. I think that's a good idea. It's the same reason like I always level my healers first. Apart from Scholar, because it's never going to be good.
Scholar.
I'm sorry. 1,000 scholars just sighed in the comment section. I don't know. They might. Oh, jeez.
That's a kettle of fish, isn't it?
Direct your scholar hate mail towards what's your character's name now? Could be Megadeth or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I need to change it. I was like 13
on Ragnarok. Yeah, definitely.
It'll be flooded.
It'll be flooded. Like, what did you say about Scholar? Well, where should we start? Let's just put it this way. They're not very well loved by the developers.
No, they're perfectly balanced and really fun.
Like, they're very clearly in need of some love and attention. Let's put it that way. Because as they stand, they're on the weaker side of things, sadly. But yeah, who knows? You know, Endwalker's changing the way we heal, so Scholar might be good. Said no one.
Who knows? Time will tell.
Hopefully. I would like it to be across the board. Because if like Scholar and... because it's like barrier healers and pure healers, right? So if Scholar's now a barrier healer, and then they're introducing a new one called Sage, and you're having to compare Sage to Scholar... Geez, Scholar better bring some new tricks to the table, because Sage has flying, injecty, laser beam, healy things.
Guns.
Basically, it's like, how are you going to top that?
That's the same with whenever you add a new class to the game. It's always going to outshine other variants of its the trio, like DPS, healing,
well, that's why Scholar should be worried, being in the same category. You know,
it's new things always outshine because they've always had we've done this in the past. So how can we improve on it? Oh, we can do this and you can do that. So if you're lying in the dust, still from like the first expansion, you know, bad time bear.
It is worth saying though that even though like there might be a meta, like the best healer, the best tank, whatever, that's not the ideal thing to look at if you're a casual player, just a normal player. If you're doing
unless
like,
you're going for world first, then that's different. But
yeah, if you're going for like world first, then there will be the setup, right? Most likely for you, but it doesn't matter. We're just memeing around, but there usually is like a stronger competitor or a more fun competitor out of if you're putting them side by side, and it's usually the newer one, isn't it? Like when Gunbreaker came out, it was flavor of the century. It still is a little bit. Warrior's been left in the dust, and I love my Warrior, but it's not as good as Paladin.
At the end of the day, whatever you play better on and whatever you enjoy, you're going to do much better than to say something it's the best but you don't enjoy. It's just how it is.
It is, yeah.
You're going, I need to press button. It's just boring. Whereas if you're playing like Gunbreaker, fun, spamming buttons may not be the best. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I feel like I'm dancing about and pressing loads of buttons, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think Gunbreaker is incredibly competitive at the moment in terms of damage output as well as anything else, because it all comes down to damage output now, because the way that threat mechanics were changed.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that.
So instead of having to like worry about being over threat, you just have the stance, and having that stance on your tank stance just naturally makes you the tank.
Yeah. Well, because good job you bring that up. Because when I was doing is it Lighthouse? What was it called?
Ridorana?
Yeah. I was doing it other day, and I thought I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I was just in DPSing, and I kept getting aggro. Like, what's going on? And, I'm actually dealing some damage. That's why.
Yeah. It will be dependent on your damage. If there's 2 tanks with tank stance on, then it will naturally go to the one that's doing the more damage out of the 2. But a DPS will never, ever, ever overthreat you. Impossible.
Unless you
tank
turn it
stance
off.
on. Unless you turn it off, yeah.
Well, in that case, that's the piece of purpose.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, a lot of people were really upset about that change to tanking, but overall it didn't really change much. It just made it so that we didn't have stupid wipes for Black Mage inevitably getting too much enmity. But
Or standing still and.
yeah, well, that's how they were top of the enmity, because they could just drop the fat DPS on the target and overthreat, weren't they? They were the crit kings, basically.
Crit kings.
Yes. Spell speed and large crits. Lovely. Especially with like Xenoglossy now. Jesus. The numbers.
Xenoglossy. Interesting.
Yeah, you'll have to try Black Mage out. I'm sure James will agree. It's worth trying out, but I'm still crap at it.
We'll give that a go. Why not?
Summoner is amazingly fun.
I do like Summoner. Summoner.
It's really good in Shadowbringers. I'm happy with my Summoner. Red Mage is fun as well.
There's so many things I can try out. I do want to try out Machinist.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen a flamethrower and I think, oh, that's cool.
Machinists are strong. They are strong. They're good.
What are you working on, at least, like, apart from your relics?
Apart from my relic stuff, what am I working on? I've been trying to do some more Blue Mage stuff. There's a few titles I was trying to go for through Carnival, which are a little bit hard to do. But apart from that, it really has just been resistance weapons. I'm on 4 weapons at once at any one time, just churning through all of those quests as much as possibly, as much as I possibly can. You know, it basically equates to hours of this and hours of that, and I try to break it down into little reward segments so that I can give myself a pat on the back every time I do 5 runs of Delibram, for example. And then I figured out that, well, if I do that, I can fit that into a stream night, for example, on Twitch, and then that's only 3 streams and we've completed a weapon. So there's that. And then off of that as well, we also I've also been streaming stuff like runs of Circus Tower, which isn't very fun, and Castrum Lacus Latore, which is the other thing, and skirmishes and critical engagements. So my life is mostly Bosja now.
Your brain's still like turning to peas.
Yeah,
peas.
yeah. But usually it's good fun though, because you can just whack up a TV series or something that you've missed in the past, or like a movie on one screen and then grind away. That's usually what ends up happening.
Or do what you do, stream it and turn on Demon Voice. And
Oh yeah, that's good fun.
Demon Voice.
The channel points were a mistake.
Oh, can't be a mistake. I'm looking forward to the first person, last boss. Can't see anything.
It was good fun. Yesterday we did that. So, yeah. But anyway, I think we've probably done about an hour. Probably.
Round about that, actually. Yeah, I think it's about, hour and a half.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully people have enjoyed this. Reece is a good friend of mine. I've known him for a long, long time, since he was a squeaky boy on the internet.
13.
Yeah, 13. My goodness.
24.
And you're 24 now. Jeez.
Yes.
That's some time. But yeah, it's nice to have you back in the game. Welcome back. And I'm sure there is plenty of stuff that I can force you to do that will keep you interested.
I'm going to go back and queue for Auburn Monastery. I queued for an hour and a half this morning. Didn't get a queue pop. So that was fun.
That's a yikes, isn't it?
As a tank too.
There's not many people that are doing Auburn because it's not part of a relic, you see. Well, it is, but it isn't fast.
Nah, the old stuff, yeah. I'm just trying to catch up, so. But plenty of time.
All right, then. Anyway, let's wrap up there. hopefully people have enjoyed this and our little random tangents of discussion. If you want to see Mega or Reece again in the future on future episodes of Tea Time with Meoni, I would appreciate that. Try to keep some sort of sensibility in the comment section. Don't be complete potatoes. Last time we had somebody moaning about a previous guest's lisp. Let's not be that type of people, okay? Because if you say anything dumb like that, I'm just gonna ban your ass, okay? Because it's not nice, is it? So
My accent's horrible. I know. It's fine.
yeah, it's fine. But what on earth are you doing?
Just getting ready to kick the math, you know?
Yeah, in your queue times of an hour or more.
Yes.
Ah, dear. Thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye. That wasn't too bad.
Oh, it's good.